Do we need to drop one of the answer? Okay, here's your hint. Watch what I'm doing. When I throw this eraser up in the air, it must come, what? Come down. Does it stay up in the air? No. Whenever you throw something up in the air, it must come down. That's your hint. Why do we get 2 solutions for this? Shouldn't we just get 1? Or does it make sense that we get 2? Rachel? That's right. In other words, Rachel, can you explain to us what this means when I get 2 solutions? Yes. Exactly right. Did you hear what Rachel said? Here's a picture. The arrow is at 49 meters in 2 intervals at 2 seconds and 5 seconds. Here's a picture. Just like Rachel says, okay, by the way, right here, what's the time right before I hit it? Time is 0, right? After 1 second, at 2 seconds, it hits the 49 meters, right? And it goes up, and as it comes down, here's 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and then at 5 seconds, it hits what? 49 meters again, and then it comes back down. Does that make sense? So it makes sense to get 2 solutions, isn't that right? There are 2 intervals in which the arrow will be at 49 meters. When it goes up, and as it comes down. Yes? Does that make sense? Yeah. By the way, so here's your, any question about this answer? No? Are we good? Is anybody not convinced? Why we get 2? By the way, someone asked me, how do you know which one of these 2 intervals is when it goes up and when it comes down? How do you tell? I was like, yeah, it's kind of obvious. How do you know which one? Like, how do you know that at 2 seconds it goes up? How, what if at 5 seconds it goes? 5. Yes. Yeah, I mean, how can you at 5 seconds? You can't go back in time, right? You cannot be at 49. After 5 seconds, it goes up to 49 feet and then 49 meters, and then how do you get to 2 seconds? You can't travel back in time. That'd be great if you could. Anyway, so as it goes up, see here. By the way, right down here, the time is what? Right before it gets shot up, time is 0. Does that make sense? By the way, what is the height on this ground? Even though you could be up in the mountain or wherever. Guess what this height is right here? Height is? Anybody? At this point where it gets shot up in the air, the height is always going to be 0. That's the height of 0. Does that make sense? So you could be up in the mountain. It doesn't matter. Wherever you're throwing the object up in the air, that height is 0. Okay? Does that make sense? And of course, right here, the time is always equal to 0 too, right? When it shoots up, and then after 2 seconds, it hits 49, goes all the way up. As it at 3, 4, 5 seconds, it comes down at 49 again, and comes back down. No. Right here is 49, the height. What I'm talking about is the ground level. The ground level, the height, we call it 0. You could be up in the mountain, right? Somewhere, but the height, wherever you're shooting this arrow from, that's the height. That height is 0. Okay, it's a relative height of that, wherever you're shooting it from. Now, here's my question. Okay, we're done with this question, right? So now here's some extra questions. Write this down, extra. When will the arrow reach the highest height? I claim to you, by knowing what we just did here, we could actually figure out when the arrow would reach its highest height. Can somebody guess when it might be? By the way, could it be like at time it goes to 1? No, because at 2 it's already 49. When will this arrow be at its highest height? Eddie?
3.
You think it's 3? Why do you say 3?
5 minus 2.
Oh. Well, 5 minutes, when you do that, then you have just told me how long the arrow is from this point to this point. It does take 3 seconds from going from here to here. But that's not where it hits the highest point. Can somebody? Sarah, what do you think? You think it's at 7 seconds it is at the highest point? No, because already at 5 seconds it's coming down. So at 7 seconds it's going to be even lower than 49 meters. I'm asking when, at what time will the arrow be like right up here, right where the highest place is? Audrey?
3.5 seconds.
Alvin, what do you think? You both think it's 3.5. How many people think it's going to be 3.5? You're all right. How do you know? Stefan?
It's halfway between.
It's halfway between 2 seconds and 5 seconds. How do you find a middle of two numbers? You take the average. That's exactly right. So when you take the average of 2 and 5, don't you get 3.5? So you're exactly right. The arrow would be at its highest place at 3.5 seconds after it initially shoots up in the air. Is that right? So that's one of the questions I could ask on the test. Hint, hint. Okay. On the test I could. Okay. Second question that I could also ask. Write this down. When will the arrow hit the ground? When will the arrow hit the ground? This is kind of easy, isn't that right? Aaron? How many people think it's 7 seconds? Why? You're right. Why would it take 7 seconds to hit the ground? Yes, Leah?
It takes 3.5 seconds to get up. It takes another 3.5 seconds.
Exactly right. If it takes 3.5 seconds to hit the highest height, it'll take the same exact amount of time to come back down. Does that make sense? That's exactly right. So 3.5 plus 3.5, it takes 7 seconds. I could ask another question. What about this? What is the highest height? I'm not talking about when. I'm asking what is. So we know it takes about what? It takes 3.5 seconds, right? To get to the highest place. But then what is the actual height at 3.5 seconds? How do you figure this out? Oh, a lot of you, 3 people think. Okay, who have like Kayleen? When? How do you figure this out?
Multiply the rate by the time. I mean the rate by the height.
Rate by, we don't know the height though.
Sorry, the rate by
The rate was, what was the rate? No, I don't think you don't just multiply the rate. I don't think you do. Sarah?
You add the rate times 3.5 and then add it to
In other words, I think you have the right idea. Victor?
Take half of the like that you have and then add it on top.
No, it's not the half of the height shift. No, that's the, no, because why should it be half? Ethan?
Is the height 85.75 meters?
How do you know?
Well, what I did is I took 49, what was at 2 seconds, and then I divided it by 2. I mean, yeah, so 24.5.
Not quite. It's not going to be doubling this height every time, Audrey.
You have to figure out how high it goes in 1 second.
Oh, and then add it 3 point. No, actually, there's easier way. No, because of the gravity, it doesn't go linear. It doesn't double every time, right? Because it has to come down too. Anybody know what to do? Yes.
You plug it in instead of 2. So it'll be 34.3 times 3.5 is minus 4.9 times 3.5.
You're exactly right. We have to use the what, guys? We have to use the. Anybody? We have to use the. Anybody? Original formula and plug in what? What thing? What do we have to plug in? You have to plug in. What's going on here? You have to plug in 3.5 for time, and what do we plug in for rate? 34.3, and you will get the what, class? You will get the height. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm talking about? We have to use this formula. Instead of h, we don't know what h is, right? So leave the h as it is. Then plug in t for 3.5 and also 3.5. What do you have to do for 3.5 here? Hello? So let's write this down. Oh. We'll do that tomorrow, okay?
What's the homework?
Here's your homework for tonight.